Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's off-road update. After a rain-drenched wildboard GNCC for round 2 in Florida, it was an immediate trek north and a quick turnaround to Washington, Georgia at the A&U Pass MX facility for the third round of GNCC racing, the General GNCC. Rain, of course, leads to havoc at GNCC events, and Georgia is traditionally known for being a disastrous course when the rains hit. This year was no different, as the rains brought flashbacks of 2023 to the minds of the riders. What it did lead to, though, was close racing action and a history-making day. At the wave of the green flag on the shortened 1-hour youth race on Sunday morning, defending champion Caleb Wood led the field into corner number 1. The lead, however, short-lived as the slick conditions took the Kawasaki riders' wheels from underneath them, allowing Husqvarna-mounted Brody Amos to take the whole shot and lead the YXC1 field into the woods. At the completion of lap 1, though, Wood was into the lead and following right on his rear wheel, rival Braden Baisley. Doc Smith, Brody Amos, and Camden Krause would round out the top 5. The conditions were wreaking havoc on the riders as well as their families and crews, as the mud-covered riders were hard to tell apart from one to another. The sun creeping between the trees also plagued the riders' vision, as shown by this rider here who buried his bike in a part of Saturday's racetrack that had been rerouted for Sunday's event. No matter though, after minutes of digging by friends and family, they were able to get his bike out of the mud and he was on his way. Baisley would lead the field through the finish at the halfway point of the race with a 30-second advantage over Wood. Another 40 seconds back were the next 3 of Krause, Amos, and Smith. Problems during the ensuing lap would catch out Baisley though, as Wood took the lead and carried a near 2-minute advantage over Baisley into the white flag. The Husqvarna rider couldn't relax though, as a hard-charging Ethan Hartwell moved to the rear wheel of Baisley after mounting a charge from 6th in the early going. At the checkered flag, it was Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki's Caleb Wood taking his 3rd victory in a row, with Baisley and Hartwell closing out the podium. Smith and Amos would finalize the top 5 in the standings. When the WXC riders took off for their shortened hour-and-a-half event, Rockstar Husqvarna's Corey Steed was the first to the first corner. She ran wide though, allowing defending champ Rachel Archer to pivot quick on the inside and grab the hole shot, leading the field into the woods. 3 miles into the first lap, Gas Canada FXR back Shelby Turner held the lead with Steed in tow and Jocelyn Barnes moving into 3rd. Points leader Brandy Richards and Archer were close behind. Rookie Addison Elliott and Preston Rains were in close proximity to the front 5. At the 8-mile mark, the front 4 shifted as Steed took over the point position ahead of Archer, with Turner and Richards hot on their heels. Elliott moving up into the top 5, while coming out of the pack was Rachel Gudish. Rains was still in 7th, while Jordan Jarvis had made up ground to join the second group of WXC riders. Early into the second lap, and Turner led by a good margin over Archer, while Steed was finding the slick Georgia Clay tough to stay up on while trying to stay with the leaders. Richards was all alone in 4th, with Elliott coming from behind as Gudish was mounting a charge to enter the top 5 conversation. Throughout the race, there were more passes than could be kept track of as the field jockeyed for position and fought the deep holes and slick mud that Georgia Clay was famous for. Archer would retake the lead over Turner while Steed was mounting a comeback in 3rd. Gudish, despite having bike issues early in the race, kept fighting and by the halfway point had moved herself into 4th ahead of Richards. Nearing the completion of lap 2, Archer and Turner were still locked in a heated battle as the Ohio native Steed continued to have issues with the track, never able to get a groove going to mount a charge back to the leaders. Gudish and Richards rounded out the top 5 as Jarvis had figured out good lines of her own to move herself into 6th, while Barnes had recovered well from burying herself in a mud hole to move past Rains heading into the white flag. At the checkered flag, it was Shelby Turner taking her first career GNCC victory. Archer and Steed would take spots 2 and 3 as Gudish and Richards rounded out the top 5. As the riders readied themselves for a battle against the elements for the 1 o'clock start, there was debate of whether the final race of the day would be shortened or run its traditional 3-hour time slot. Due to the conditions, the decision was made to shorten the race to give or take 2.5 hours. As the green flag waved and the XC1 riders fired off the line, Ampro Yamaha's Ricky Russell grabbed the hole shot, followed by Dante Oliveira and Jordan Ashburn. In the XC2 class that took off roughly a minute behind the front row, Toby Cleveland grabbed his 2nd hole shot in a row, followed by Florida winner Grant Davis and Jason Lipscomb. Points leader Johnny Gerard would lead the field partway through lap 1. The XC1 field not laying down a torrid pace as they were the first ones to come across unknown mud holes that could swallow a bike and end a race immediately. The XC2 riders, though, were throwing caution to the wind behind the experienced veterans as 2017 XC2 champion Josh Toth decided to take charge and lead the class early on. There would be little separation in the early going, as everyone up front was making sure to hit the correct lines as the race became a game of follow the leader. Little mistakes here and there is all that would cause any position changes, but nothing that would determine the outcome of the race. Stu Baylor would take over the lead just before the finish of lap 1, with Gerard, Russell, Ashburn, and Craig DeLong all a second apart from each other. Coming up from behind, though, was the XC2 class, as Toth led the way over defending champ Liam Draper, with Cleveland, Cody Barnes, and Brody Johnson all right there to take advantage of any mistakes. The first 5 XC2 riders laid down a blistering pace that found them in the lead positions overall at the end of lap 1. The running order would change here and there over the next couple laps, but the one thing that wasn't changing was the overall leader from XC2, Josh Toth. The Honda rider going into the event is only running an abbreviated GNCC schedule, as he did last year with entering National Enduro, Pro Motocross, Extreme Enduro, and a variety of other events. The New England native wasn't focused on winning the XC2 class, he was going after the current points leader, Johnny Gerard. Entering the final lap of racing, Gerard still physically ahead on track, while Ashburn was in second and in a battle on track with Toth, who had moved into third. On time adjustment, there were only 10 seconds separating Gerard and Toth with 1 lap to go. The crowd waited in anticipation as they knew history was a very real possibility. As the fans gathered around the finish, Gerard popped into view all alone, solidifying his 3rd straight victory in XC1. He was waiting for Toth at the finish line to see if his fellow Massachusetts native was going to beat him on adjusted time. Screaming out of the woods was Ashburn, with Toth right on his rear wheel. It was a short time frame on everyone's internal clock. Ashburn would cross the line with Toth following, thus making history as the first rider to ever win a GNCC overall from XC2. Josh Toth takes his first ever overall victory ahead of Johnny Gerard and Jordan Ashburn. Baylor would mount a charge to take the final podium spot in XC1. Grant Davis and Liam Draper would finish 2nd and 3rd in XC2, capping off the podium behind overall winner Toth.
What a race, guys.
Thank you everyone for watching. The next event is the Camp Coker Bullet GNCC in South Carolina on March 22nd and 23rd. I'll see you there.